It's definitely important for us to tell Irish stories and rural stories, but I think more so our own stories, no matter where you're from in Ireland. If you're from the inner city in Dublin, if you're from, wherever in Galway City, Cork City, I think that's the stuff that actually resonates.
This week on Garry Talks Film, I'm joined by Edwin Mullane, co-director and producer of the award-winning Irish feature Horseshoe. Shot on location in Sligo, the film has been turning heads on the festival circuit and now hits cinemas nationwide this Friday, December the 5th. We talk about the importance of telling rural Irish stories, the challenges of indie filmmaking, and the friendships made in bringing Horseshoe to life.
The moments where I'm proudest of Horseshoe and I think what we did that reads on screen is probably the warmth and the love and the heart and the friendship that was on set, that I think only serves a story about family and people coming together,
Yeah. This is a GK Media podcast. Garry Talks Film, kindly supported by Grace on Demand Skillnet and the Rap Commission.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Garry Talks Film, brought to you by Grace on Demand Skillnet and the Rap Commission. And I'm delighted to be joined in studio by director, producer, the one and only Edwin Mullane. Edwin, thank you so much for coming in and joining me today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I think the first time we met was earlier this year at the Berlin Film Festival. And I said to Gar O'Brien Collins of Rap that the busiest man I saw in Berlin that week was you. Because every time I'd see you were just running from one meeting to another meeting to another meeting, non-stop for 5 days. You had just kind of finished your feature film, and obviously you're on the next stage of getting it out there and so on. And your film Horseshoe will be on nationwide release in Ireland this Friday. But before we get into the film itself, let's just bring it back to, you're based in Sligo, your production company, Wave Walker Films. But you and Adam O'Keefe, who co-directed the movie with you as well, you didn't originally grow up in Sligo.
No, I get teased sometimes by my neighbours and my friends in the GA club that I'm a blow-in, but it's incorrect.
Okay.
I'm a blowback because my family are from Sligo, so I like to prod them back with that. I spent all my Christmases, summers, bank holidays visiting my granny up there and always loved going up. So I was very proud to be able to move back with my family then a couple of years ago. Brilliant. So we're Wave Walker Films now is based in Soho Lab in Strandhill in Sligo.
Okay.
We're using that as our hub to the world from Sligo.
So you grew up on the East Coast in Dublin. So did you go to film school then in Dun Laoghaire or? I
was in Dun Laoghaire, but I actually studied English media and cultural studies there. And that's where myself and Adam met. So we both went in there, I suppose, having quite a wide range of interests, not knowing exactly what we wanted to do. And we landed in this course out in IADT.
So you didn't know going in that you wanted to be director or producer?
Not really, no. I think we went through school enjoying English. I had an older brother who was acting, so I was interested in plays and interested in literature. But I'd never made a film or I'd never made a play. I was just interested, I suppose, in reading and looking at films. I think Adam was pretty much the same. The course was great. It was very, I suppose, you're beside the film course and you've lecturers that are, some of them were working in theatre, some of them were working in film. They were great lecturers, really. We ended up doing a lot of work outside the course, extracurricular.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where myself and Adam, we were, I suppose, founding members, amongst others, of the Drama Society out there. We started writing and making our own plays and experimenting and making lots of mistakes and crap and putting it on a stage. And then we started making little films as well. And we started collaborating.
Because theatre and film, like we all know they're different, but I found definitely with theatre, the hard part is everything is live at the one time. There's no way you can hide mistakes with a cutaway or anything like that. It's very much like you're on full show
Absolutely, yeah. But that's the thrill of it, I suppose, when we hadn't done anything like that before, and then like there was a space in the college where we used to invite people in to look at these plays, and people would sit through them painfully, I'm sure. But it was the thing that the theatre allowed us, I suppose, before because we weren't studying film and we didn't have the techniques or full access to the editing equipment or etc. It was just that immediacy that we were able to write something, rehearse it and realize it pretty quick. And I suppose that's where we kind of learned the art, I suppose, for us to kick was getting it on front of people. And we wanted to do more and more of that. So when we were meant to be doing our thesis and studying for our final exams in college, we were off making plays and films that had nothing to do with the course, but is where we started devoting more and more time. And we started to work, I suppose, together in a way, very collaborative way that gave us the basis from going on from that. Many of the close collaborators that we had across different courses in IDT or from our own course, we ended up working with them then after college as well. Great. So we came out of college with scripts and ideas and loads of energy, but not really an idea exactly where to put it yet.
Yeah. This is the problem. I was talking to a group of film students recently in the college that I went to many moons ago. I talk about, and some people get offended by it, but I talk about, when you're going to college, you're in a bubble and everything is great and safe and, your confidence is being built up. But when you leave college, that bubble is burst. There's no protection anymore. There's no one there to kind of hold your hand and guide you through. You're out there in the world. It's raw. It's tough. And that's the thing I really find when you leave film school of you have this confidence, but then you realize, oh, I'm a nobody and I don't know anyone and you don't know where to go, where to start, what to do, who to meet.
Yeah, it's scary. I do remember actually someone in our course saying to one of the lecturers, but like, what are we qualified for? And like, I suppose the lecturer was struggling at the time to like articulate what that was. And looking back to our course, the brilliant thing about it was the quality of the input, like the stuff that we were consuming, that they were putting in front of us, the literature and the films and the critical essays, like that's in you then, I suppose. And you don't realize at the time because people are so focused on the job and what, the output rather than like, just like really enjoying that period of time where you get to read and absorb and have those conversations in the pub afterwards with your friends about stuff.
Really nourish the mind.
Yeah, when I think back of it, we got exposed to amazing stuff and really talented lecturers who were like pushing the boundaries probably of what was within the course that they were allowed to show us, So I feel very lucky to have had that time.
Because I remember in college as well, they were showing us like German noir, is it? Like Dr. Caligari, and there'd be some Jean-Luc Godard movies, and it'd be like, okay, we're going to put on this film now from Japan, and you're like, oh, seriously? Can we just not watch Terminator 2 or something? and you couldn't get those movies anywhere at the time, bar going to film school. It's not like nowadays where I suppose people are more accessible to world cinema. There wasn't that understanding or appreciation at the time of, wow, they're actually filling our minds up with so much knowledge and art that'll just kind of work its way into our creative output over the next number of years.
Absolutely. Like I think the college library in IDT was amazing because you just go up and take DVDs and the stuff was, you could get stuff that you never even heard of. So between there and then there was a DVD shop on South Great Georgia Street called Laser, which I used to spend a lot of time and like just pick up random stuff in there to watch. That was probably my training in a way, And also the theatre. My brother was an actor in Dublin at the time and doing kind of semi-professional stuff, brilliant work in the likes of Andrews Lane. So we used to go along there to watch plays and go into the Abbey and the IFI. So you were kind of, suppose, really hungry for stuff. Myself and Adam at that time, we didn't know how to articulate it and get it out, but we were absorbing as much as we could. And then we were trying to work out ourselves how we could collaborate and make these things. So we didn't have the practice of that yet. But we started making theatre, and we had a theatre company called Back of the Hand Productions.
Okay.
And we put our first play on above the International Pub in Wicklow Street when we were out of college. People came along and they didn't walk out, and then we put another one on, and then that one ended up going over to Edinburgh to the Fringe Festival.
Oh, wow.
So the basis, I suppose, although, you know, we didn't really separate film and theatre, but it was that accessibility to be able to get a story in front of people. And then we started learning, I suppose, how to tour shows, and we started taking the directing and the acting and the writing for theatre a little more seriously, making little short films badly along the way in the middle of that. But the theatre definitely gave us that grounding in how to, you know, come up with an idea, develop it, produce it as well. I mean, those ideas.
Because this is making sense to me now, having watched Horseshoe. It reminds me of Succession, the way the actors are constantly collaborating or bickering with each other. But there is that element of theatre in the style of how you shot it.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, sometimes a filmmaker, certainly, like I hope to make something very cinematic. You'd be like, is that a bad thing to someone say it's like theatre? But I take it as a compliment, because I think in Horseshoe, one of the things, and in the rest of our work, we work with actors in a very particular way. And it's that grounding and working in theatre, my exposure, I suppose, working with amazing companies like Druid and our own company, the core ensemble, of working with actors and placing them at the centre of story. Because really, I suppose, what theatre does, it allows an audience really to project themselves onto that actor and to feel it through. It does it so well. Sometimes in film that can get lost with all the fancy stunts or CGI or whatever, but we love cinema that's character centered in that way. I suppose that's when we wanted to approach Horseshoe. We definitely wanted to make it cinematic. We pushed the boundaries in with the amazing Jazz Foley, how we shot it, but it's grounded in that character and their relationships there too, which obviously must come from that training in theatre, you know, or that rigor that theatre gives you, I think, for sure.
So you're doing theatre, you're doing a few shorts. How does Adam, who's originally from Cork, you having grown up in Dublin, how did the two of you end up in Sligo setting up a production company when everyone is generally going, sadly, from the west and the south to the east to Dublin, Wicklow? We actually have people coming from that region over to the west. We
were living in Dublin. It was getting pretty hard. You know, we were scratching together. We were making some commercials together and little bits of corporate work, etc. But it was getting tricky when both of us started having families. And then COVID hit, and we had a little office in Dublin at the back of Adam's house. And I got an opportunity to move to Sligo, and it was the right thing at the time to be able to work. Everyone was working remotely. But really, COVID was one of the best things that could have happened to push us west, because there was new opportunities for us there, you know. So it was out of necessity, I suppose, first.
Yeah. But did Adam have a connection to the west?
He did, yeah. So he actually is in Kerry at the moment. That's where he's living. So his family are from the west, and his wife's family are from there as well. So the company is based in Sligo, but we're still working together remotely a lot as well. Yeah. But we're the company's based now in the SoCo lab in Strand Hill.
Oh, brilliant.
But yeah, it was
Kerry's still the west of Ireland, you know.
Yeah, that's it. That's why we renamed Wave Walker, because the quickest way was getting through the waves to each other.
Okay, it's COVID times. No one knows what's going on in the world, how long it's going to go on for. You move to Sligo to set up your company there, but also build your family there and your new life there. What's the next plan of action? Where did the seed for Horseshoe land?
Yeah, well, actually, just before Horseshoe came along, I remember in COVID, a close collaborator of mine, Leslie Conroy, had written a monologue, and she got commissioned for the actor as creator. And she asked me would I direct the short. So we shot that in COVID, and Adam was editing it remotely and I was working. So we kind of developed a way of working remotely. And even when I think back of shooting the short with masks and all the other kind of mad restrictions, it was bizarre. That gave us, I suppose, the confidence to be able to push forward, that we were like, okay, like we've done a few shorts here. We'd understand, I suppose, the mistakes and how to work the limitations a little.
And were any of these shorts Screen Ireland funded shorts?
No, they were all independently.
Wow.
Yeah, so Bar Cleaner, that was the first bit of funding that we got. So where Still Waters Lie, Bittern, the Elvis parking method, we were just using, I suppose, little bits of fund from the corporate work or the commercials and putting a little bit away into the shorts. That was really, I suppose, our film school in a way. You know, we'd work together through the theatre, but learning like how to cut and how to set up shots and all that. That was really through the corporate work in these shorts. After Cleaner had some good success around the place, I think it played in festivals all around the world. And you, I suppose, going to these festivals and being inspired and seeing how other people are making that step up and asking loads of questions. We were like, okay, we want to make a feature film. And we started, I suppose, really kind of thinking, how are we going to do this? And we had a number of scripts that we were looking at, and many of them, like, while they were great stories, it was going to take a lot of funding and moving mountains to get it over the line. You know, we went through a few different kind of iterations of what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And then I think it was in 2023, after COVID, at this stage, I think we had another short or two in the back pocket at that stage. A friend of mine who takes students into this big house in Sligo for like 10 months of the year, he, in passing in a conversation, he said, "Oh yeah, they don't come in January." And that was like in my head. Then I was like, I got on to Adam, I was like, we have to come up with a story that's in a big house in Sligo, but it has to be shot in January, and it has to be shot between this date and that date, because your man's students are coming. So we had loads
and that's a great way to structure a story, where it's like, you know, it's sometimes when people start trying to come up with a new story on a project, they're pulling from everywhere. But if it's very distinct, you know, this is our location, this is the time of year, what story can we bring to life based on that?
Yeah, and I mean, like the filmmakers that have really inspired me and us, I suppose, like the likes of Ben Wheatley, the likes of Shane Meadows, likes of Lenny Abrahamson, you know, that they were. I remember reading an article about Ben Wheatley that he made down terrace in his mate's house when his parents went away on holidays for 2 weeks, you know. So that was in the back of my head. It's like, like, what do we have?
Yeah.
You know, I suppose we knew from the shorts and from the theatre work that we had amazing collaborators in actors, and we had like built up a rapport with a very talented crew and Jas Foley, the DOP as well, that like we had a lot of the what I believe are the most valuable parts, you know, to build that around us, that team. And I think coming from the theatre as well, we were very conscious of how important the team is to get things over the line, you know. So that's really kind of how it started pushing forward. And then
I love how just these relationships were built up over the years of doing theatre and shorts and so on, which you probably weren't aware of, but you were building up that real strong creative team that you could then pull together to work with then on your first feature film.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I think I've said that a few times when people ask me about like the value of shorts or the value of working in theatres, like those great friendships and those like collaborations that really inspire you, you know, people, actors or crew or creatives that you're able to bounce ideas off, you know, pick up the phone to, what do you think of that? And like that was all all of the actors and crew had their hand not only on set and in the post-production, but in the pre-production as well, through conversations or having a pint together. And, you know, I suppose the most valuable thing of all that is none of them said no. You know, they said, go for it. You know, like, I'll support you or I'll get behind you. You know, so that, I mean, when you're going into something as scary or as daunting as like making the first feature where you really don't know how you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
I describe it sometimes as not guerrilla filmmaking, but kamikaze filmmaking. You basically just jump off, and then lucky enough, a few people kind of throw out nets on the way. That probably describes a little bit more when you're standing on the precipice. But those people that didn't say no, I mean, I can't thank them enough, because that's what gets you the next stage all along those little turns or
so the seed was planted in 2023. January 2024, you were in production. You were filming. So how long did it take you to pull the script together?
So I'd say over the course of about 3 to 4 months was we had Adam had ideas and it was a short, and then we started kind of fashioning it and developing it, and the actors were in reading and workshopping it with us. So yeah, I mean, that last part came together pretty quick, but I suppose the ideas had been around for about a year or so, you know.
And how long did you do, because coming from theatre then, how long did you get to dedicate towards the workshopping of the script with the cast?
I suppose over a number of, like, probably about 4 or 5 weeks, we would have had different touch-ins with the cast over that time, you know.
Virtually, is it?
Yeah, if it was all virtually, yeah. I mean, look, that has its limitations too, you know, and I suppose the idea, Horseshoe wouldn't exist if it didn't have those limitations. So I'm kind of okay with them now, looking back. You know, I mean, ideally you'd have a longer pre-production and you'd
but some people completely neglect the importance of workshopping a script with a cast, no matter what their budget is.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. I mean, we were looking at the the actors and what they could bring to it as well. There, we kind of were lucky because we had worked with them before. We knew how good they were and certain things that they could do and what they could do together. So we were very conscious of, bringing all our best delf to the table, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In what were our strengths here. So like, and working the characters and working the story. So that process helped us do that. The moments where I'm proudest of Horseshoe, and I think that we did a great job was letting the actors do their job and standing back, and letting them work with each other in that way. I suppose that comes from the workshopping, but also, what they brought to the table as well,
So you shot your movie in Sligo in January 2024. How many days did you have to film it, and what was that period of time like?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was like January in Sligo or the Northwest, as I'm sure you know. Like, I mean, that's the weather is against you. Yeah. There was storms, there was snow, there was everything else in between. It was
That's why there's no students there generally in January in the house.
Yeah, I know that even put their cat in it at that time of the year. But so that did have its restrictions. Also, like, because we didn't have much of a production budget, we wanted to use the landscape and exteriors as much as possible. So whilst we had the house, the majority of the film was set outside the house. So we really had to plan with regard to weather and logistics. But I was lucky to have a great friend who is an extremely talented AD and director in his own right, Rick Gordon, who really marshalled those days and meant that, like, regards to, I think we actually, with half an hour to spare at the end of 15 days, which was incredible.
Oh my God.
When you think of it, in the middle of it, we had power outages, we had storms. There was one morning I remember we had an interior in a pub, in my local pub, O'Donnell's, and we'd key cast that were only available this certain day. And I woke up and there was no power in the village, and you're like, no. But the community got behind us, and by 10 a.m. there was not one, not two, but 3 different generators there.
Oh,
people
wow.
with sandwiches and flasks to help us get over it, like, wow. So there was a load of those things that were stressful along
That's
the
the
way.
West for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the sense of community, I suppose.
100%.
And like, we made it, like, there was cast and crew there, but we also had like people like the amazing Jerry Leamy, a neighbour and friend of mine who'd never been on a film set, and just said, look, I'll get behind you and help that. And he drove I suppose things of soup around and sandwiches around and did the lifting, did the work behind the scenes that enables you to move a crew around logistically from mountains to the house to all those different places that we needed to go. And we were lucky we had those key people in the community that got behind us,
And was this 15 days spread over like a number of weeks? Or was this 15 days solid?
Yeah, I suppose there was weekends there where cast and crew had a little bit of time off. So it was over 3 weeks that we did it. Yeah. And it was night shoots and everything else. And I suppose the cast and the crew, really, we were lucky that they, the conditions would have been tough for them with the limitations. We didn't have trailers. We didn't have, everyone was probably in not 5-star accommodation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's amazing to see the film and then get the insights, actually, how limited the time was, because what you shot in 15 days, when you see it on screen as a completed project, it's unbelievable because it looks so well. And you mentioned so much outdoors footage as well, like the landscape visuals in it as well is amazing. The cast, as I've spoken to you off camera or off mic a number of times, are fantastic. But what did you learn during the intensity of those 3 weeks? Because, you've limited time, you limited budget, it's firefighting, it's dealing with all the external elements of weather and so on. What were you learning about yourself as a, we'll say, director and producer during that period?
Yeah, I think like the value in building a team, like that was the thing I learned most of that, because when you're in the middle of it, I nearly used an expletive there, I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to use them or not. Yeah, when you're in the middle of that, they're the people that are going to dig you out. So like, there's so much that, I mean, you can't know everything, you can't understand everything, but you're having a team of people that you can trust around. Whilst those limitations, I think we were fueled by that. And then, like, everyone was pushing harder to make it, because they were serving the film, for each other and getting behind it and that. So I think that camaraderie and the teamwork was what I realized it's probably the most important thing of it all, to get you over the line. And The thing I'm proud of, and I know Adam is too, when you're on screen, you can feel the relationships or feel the heart in the film.
100%.
So whilst we talk about the limitations, I think, what's amazing that reads on screen is probably the warmth and the love and the heart and the friendship that was on set, that I think only serves a story about family and people coming together.
Yeah.
When we think about the work that we've made through the shorts, and this was not a conscious thing, but often in our films, they've been about the struggle for connection or people, at a lost connection and coming back together. So we maybe unconsciously are drawn to stories that are about relationships or about heart and family, I suppose.
Yeah.
The thing about family is it's universal. Even if no matter what family you have, everyone has one, one of the taglines that we've used so far, all families are mad. So it's that little pressure.
I can't say anything or I'll be ostracized. But yeah, you're 100% right. It's making a movie where the core of the story is completely universal. So although the story is based in the west of Ireland, you can be watching this in New York and you'll get it.
Yeah, hopefully. And I mean, one of the really humbling things, obviously we had the most amazing world premiere in Galway, and it was great to have.
And it won an award.
Yeah, which we were delighted. We definitely celebrated that one. The Galway Film Fleadh Best First Feature.
Excellent. Congrats.
Oh, it was amazing. That was like a dream come true. You're going to Galway over the years and seeing films, and then to present it in the town hall on the Saturday night and have the backing of the Fleadh, that was amazing, and to get the response. But even since then, I mean, it's been
because it's sold out as well.
Yeah, it was packed out.
Yeah, and still loads of your family haven't seen the movie.
Yeah,
so it's not like it was just packed out with friends and family. Like there was loads of people from all corners of the country going to see it. Yeah, it was great. It was kind of being able to tell people, no, there's no room for you in the flat to be able to see it, which hopefully they'll come into cinema now to see it. But yeah, it was a great experience. And just being in the Fleadh, you realise, I suppose, when I have friends from overseas that are coming over to the Fleadh, experiencing it from the first time, just how special it is. The atmosphere is so unique. I've been at film festivals in different countries, but there's nothing like the Galway Film Fleadh. Yeah, I agree. And especially the way, to celebrate Irish film and give it that platform, it's so important. Yeah, it's a great festival for people to go to, if especially those who want to kind of get their foot in the industry, because it's such a relaxed festival. There's no pretentiousness about it. Everyone is accessible. I mean, you could have, people behind big TV productions or international film productions who are just there in the Town Hall Theatre on the steps where you can rock up and have a chat with them or grab a pint with them down their own club or whatever. That's the sort of festival it is. You wouldn't get that in Berlin or Cannes or any of the other big festivals out there. No, I think there's a great leveler, an old pint or meeting into a pub. It's great. Yeah. And I think people, when they come back, these people who are here, that the market attracts, or that Miriam and Maeve and the Fleadh team managed to attract here internationally, they love that. Yeah, as well. Yeah. So yeah, that was an experience of a lifetime, and it was really, like, I know for both of us, it was one of those things where we set our goal when we were making the film that we'd love to get it to Galway. Super. So to have that kind of a world premiere was magic. Manifestation. Yeah, no, for sure. I think those things are important to have as well, especially when you're in the middle of post-production editing or up the side of a mountain. So technically then, so you shot it in 15 days. What camera gear were you using? Was it just a single camera? Talk to me about the technical elements involved. Yeah, well, I mean, Jas Foley and the crew were just incredible what they brought to the table. Even with those limitations, we shot on Arri Alexa with 2. Nice. So with 2 Arri Alexas. Yeah, so that enabled us to move faster. But I mean, the way Jas and the crew work, they work together all the time. They're like an inter-county hurling team. The way they travel, they train these moves together. So even when we were in, a shot might be changing, in the middle of a scene, we were reworking stuff because of the weather or because of time limitations, and they were able to just get into a formation and move the camera in a way that you couldn't work unless they had that close relationship and skill and craft together. So that really enabled us, the way they were set up, enabled us to get more and be more creative with the shots as well. Yeah, again, they were working with hailstones and snow and frost and everything else. Broken cars, vans. And then, so it's an independent production. Yeah. So Screen Ireland, their logo appears at the start of the movie. So did they come in then for completion?
Yeah, so I suppose we made it outside the system completely independently. And then we realized, I suppose, in the post-production phase that we're going to need support. We had some bits of financial investment from executive producers, small amounts to be able to help us get us over the line regards production. But then we applied for the completion funding from Screen Ireland. The first time we thought we had a great cut, great assembly. We had all the bits together, but it didn't get over the line the first time. It's very competitive around. I suppose a lot of people looking for completion.
And had you sent in for development originally?
We actually didn't. No.
Okay.
It was.
So you were going independent from day one with this?
Yeah, and then someone said, "Oh, we should look for completion to see if you can bring like the likes of the score and the likes of the grade and all those elements of post production that would allow us a theatrical release."
So version 1, they said no, not interested.
No, they were kinder than that.
Okay.
In fairness, they were. I think they realised, that these guys and this team, they did value what we did, but just it's a competitive round, and they had a few suggestions. We went back and we got 1 or 2 pickups. We looked at the edit again and we put all the package together. And then I remember at the time we were like, look, we'll have to find another way. We had let it go. We just put it back in. And I remember it was 2 days before Christmas, would have been Christmas 2024. And I was in Edinburgh with my wife and we were going for a drink and I kind of had signed out. And then I got the email. I was like, yes. So
saying that they were going to help with completion funding.
So that really changed the game then, and the speed that we were able to work, and I suppose the level of completion that we were able to bring the film. Like we have an amazing score from Anna Malarkey, who's Galway based, and like we really wanted to work with Anna, but the completion funding allowed us to be able to, for her to record in studio with West of Ireland musicians and to be able to bring that, extra layer to the film. We used music by John Francis Flynn in the film as well. We were able to go back into the edit with the amazing Tony Cranstoun, all those things that...
Yeah, talk to us about working with Tony in the edit.
Oh, that was like going back to film school, in a way. We did a rough assembly of some scenes. Producer Mo O'Connell had been mentored by Tony, and he had said, oh, look, if you're working on something in the future that, reach out. So she did. And Tony really liked the script and he liked the look of the film. And he was just coming off The Surfer with Nicolas Cage, Finnegan's film. And
he worked on The Royal Family as well.
Yeah, he's a BAFTA winner for Royal Family. And I think I can't even count how many credits he has on IMDb. So he agreed to take it on as an indie project. So going in to work with him, that really upped the game for us. We were blown away. Just his experience, his sense of rhythm and timing, particularly for comedy and the group scenes as well, to be able to mind those. But he really got the film, I think, from the start. He was able to, the family elements and the heart and the drama. He was able to lean into those and give us plenty of raps on the knuckles for the mistakes that we've made, but in a very kind and supportive way. So, that was transformative working with Tony.
Brilliant.
Very lucky to call him a friend now after that experience, and very proud to have collaborated with him on the film, but also learned from him as well,
And you were working then with Niamh Fagan from Screen Ireland as executive producer on it. So she was your kind of the project leader from Screen Ireland. And she's based in the west of Ireland as well. Did you find that helped?
Definitely, yeah. No, I think Niamh very passionately wants to support filmmakers in the west and the northwest. And like even just, frame that conversation with her, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a film up here. I think she got that, and as the film went through the stages of completion and then into the market, I think she really values voices coming from the West and stories about the West. But even with her approach as well, very supportive. Screen Ireland have been brilliant since they came on. And as we brought the film to market and we showcased internationally as well at Olenberg International Film Festival, how they've leaned in and supported as well. And having the badge with Screen Ireland at the front as you're going to distribute your film is massive. It's a big thing. People do.
Well, kudos to you as well, because I was dealing with Hillary in the last 24 hours and I was looking for stills from the movie, shots of you and Adam, and she just sent me loads of material. And I thought, wow, this is amazing, because we work with, through different facets of GK Media Studios, we work with different production companies. It's a huge issue for me because commercially we deal with marketing as an element of the business. that filmmakers out there don't understand the importance of marketing and publicity stills or behind the scenes footage, EPKs, any of that, because they put all the money into the production, but then they've nothing to actually use as carrots on a stick to get audience to cinema and sit in a seat to watch their production. So you did an independent production, a low budget, but still you had all the material there that you could give to someone within 10 minutes of a request being sent in. I thought, wow, like you set it up brilliantly.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, Hillary has to take credit from that. She's our other partner in Wave Walker. She's the organizer. She's brilliant. She's the company manager. But I think one of the reasons why we're so attuned to that is from going to the international markets and exposed to what it takes to sell a film. So I suppose because we're producing, running our company and directing and writing, that we're aware, I suppose, what you need to get stuff out to distributors or to sales agents. So I mean, the first market I went to would have been before we shot Horseshoe. So it's kind of like seeing in Berlin, I was like seeing like what are people using, what materials are they using to sell, and listening. You know, I remember the first time I went, I had like a piece of paper with, you know, like the deck, and then I was looking at these US guys with this fancy tablet.
Yeah.
And then the next time I went, then I had a little clip, and I noticed someone else like with the earphones. I was like, oh, that's so. The next time I went, then we got the best quality screen that we could afford, and we got noise cancelling earphones. So it's been the first time that you're presenting the film to someone in the marketplace,
which is chaotic and busy and loud. Yeah.
And they're feeling your film for the first time. You know, you're putting on lovely earphones onto them, and they're looking at a nice screen. So kind of elevates your work. So whilst we were selling an independent film, you know, they were getting it in a way that was probably like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah. First impressions, 100%.
Yeah. And like, I mean, those are little things that I suppose I'm just watching other people at the markets and trying to see like little bits of learnings, you know, from those when you're there.
So this is what you were doing in Berlin when I saw you. You weren't off doing the tours around Brandenburg Gate or anything.
No, alongside on set when I'm working with actors and crew, my other favorite thing is on the floor of the marketplace. I love that. I love the energy of it. I love, you know, if you have your projects and your decks, they're, you know, kicking indoors. Personally, I thrive on it. I like the thrill of trying for someone else to see the value in your work, get them on board, you know.
So was it distributors you were meeting over in Berlin? Was it film commissioners? Was it other producers? Like
a mixture of all. I suppose we were like there with a mission with Horseshoe, but also on our other projects as well. So other feature films. And I suppose in Berlin you're meeting maybe film festivals, maybe co-production partners. But I suppose specifically for Horseshoe, we were there trying to set up meetings with sales agents and distributors. I mean, we probably kicked in every door in Berlin, and a lot of them you don't get anywhere. But I suppose you just get, with every little one, you get better at selling your work and better at like reading their body language to see kind of what are they interested in and what are they reacting to, what are they pulling back from, you know. And then I suppose the next one you build a little better in your materials, you improve every time. I never look at any of them as a kind of like, even if you get kind of stonewalled a little bit, you're trying to pick up something.
Yeah.
And then I suppose, look, it's a piece of art and they're looking at the value of selling it. So you can't take it all on board either. You're just using the tools to be able to get your piece of art, Trojan horse it into where it needs to be to get paid, you know.
So what advice would you give to someone who has maybe independently made a feature film that are heading over to Berlin completely, you know, blind as to what they need to do?
Yeah, the first thing, and it sounds a very simple thing, is but like the elevator pitch. You'd be surprised, and even myself, the first time I went, can you describe what your film is in less than 10 seconds? A lot of people can't.
Yeah.
Really, and like I'd rehearse it.
Well, not even 10 seconds then. Tell people what Horseshoe is about. You don't have to cut it back to 10 seconds. We'll give you 30, but what is Horseshoe about?
It's about a family coming together under one roof with 24 hours to settle a will.
Oh, I'd say that's even 7 seconds.
But no, I suppose, I mean, with Horseshoe, I'm conscious of selling it, that it's a comedy drama. It's set in the west of Ireland. Just having those, I think anyone, if you're going to the market for the first time, being really clear what it is you're selling. Maybe
what are the selling points of this?
Yeah, and like genre, like the way they're looking at it is like where they're going to distribute it, where it's going to live. So your comparables are important, your market comparables.
What do you mean by that now?
So films that maybe over the last 3 to 4 years that might have been successful. So you're able to give them, because they're measuring it, like where they're going to sell this. What's the audience? So not that it's the same as that film, but an audience who likes this might like this film.
Yeah,
that's what you're
So you're kind of doing, to a degree with respect, you're doing a bit of the homework for the sales agents and distributors to kind of help with the negotiations and convincing them.
Yeah, I think it's important, to understand a little bit about it. I mean, I think you can get lost in it, but definitely my advice there if you're going to the market the first time is to, to be aware of it and to try and rehearse what you're saying and to understand like what your pitch is. And then after that, it's your materials, you're selling something that's a visual medium, even if it's a deck or it's a rough cut trailer, that first impression of what's visual, you got to make it as polished as you can,
So you're taking off the creative hat from making the movie to really putting on the business hat.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to do that in a way. If you look at Sean Baker or any of these indie, the Safdie brothers, they've all kind of had to do it in that way. I saw a great picture of one of the Safdies outside a cinema in New York a couple of weeks ago with the poster strapped onto him, handing out flyers. I was like, I love that. It was probably staged for Instagram, but still, it was like the energy in that. I think because otherwise you're left waiting, right? Is that famous thing? It's the cavalry going to come. For us at the moment, it's not. So we're going to have to drive our projects this way. We're too impatient to wait for some big Hollywood producer to come up and pick us to either direct or write the next big film. So, and we'd probably go mad that way as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's just the learning the business element of it and the production element of it is allowing us to move forward with our art, and they probably more and more will go hand in hand. I think when you look at now as we're in distribution and you're understanding how the industry is slightly changing, there's more risk. It's like, suppose, way the music industry have gone. The risk is on the musicians. When you're releasing an album, the label wants you to nearly have it all done in your bedroom before they just take it at the end. And it's a little bit like that for film, I think, for indie filmmakers as well,
So talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, where do you see the industry going in terms of the support for people on the ground in Ireland or even the west of Ireland compared to, even distributors like you have Juno who's doing your North America distribution, which is fantastic, and congratulations on that. But just even working with distributors, because, Ireland is a small market. Obviously, North America is a massive market, so it's great you got distribution there. But just, that you're fighting the European market and everything. Talk to me about that journey and your, I suppose, understanding of the reality of what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what we're kind of getting constantly from talking to distributors, it's not like it was in the old days, or, we can't take the risk anymore. I suppose there's probably always a degree of that. But one of the things that kept on coming up for us is, I suppose the streamers have been disruptive in the theatrical space, that people aren't going to the cinema maybe as much, or certainly it's harder for an independent or an Irish film to cut through there. From a distribution side of things, you don't maybe hear as many films getting a minimum guarantee or picked up. There's not that kind of ecosystem unless you have a star in it, unless you're kind of making it in collaboration with the sales agent or distributor. I think there was probably a golden age of this, in the 90s and early 2000s, where you hear these independent films like breaking through from Sundance.
Yeah.
But like a Sundance film now, an indie film could be a 10 million euro budget film.
Yeah.
From me going to these festivals, particularly the likes of Oldenburg and North American festivals where I'm meeting other filmmakers, a lot of them are getting attuned to, right, how do I distribute my film? Theatrically, maybe for a limited release, working with art house cinemas or smaller, more bespoke distribution companies, but also then online, working with aggregators or seeing how they can go straight to the streamers themselves.
Okay.
Probably a little bit of a race to the bottom in a way, like kind of like different music streaming platforms as well.
Yeah.
There's more power with the filmmakers to get their work out, but also probably not. It's not as financially rewarding, I'd say. It's going to be tricky.
Yeah, because the thing about the streamers is people, it's great to go to the likes of Netflix, and they'll decide your budget, and generally they're not very tight on the purse strings. They'll put whatever is needed to go into the production, but they own the IP. So if it's like a series or a movie, they can replace you for the sequel or the follow-up series with another creative team, whatever. You're just cut out of it. That's it. It's very difficult at the moment, and cinemas took a huge hit across the world and in Ireland, definitely when COVID, and trying to get people back into cinemas again. But there's a discussion there that needs to be had as well of what is the future of cinema and what is the future of Irish cinema when there is that big David and Goliath battle now that seems to be emerging between the streaming platforms, who are pumping out content with massive budgets to people who are sitting at home in the comfort of their home, who don't want to go out and miss that beautiful experience of seeing something in the cinema. But what's been lost as well with that real, raw, artistic, nearly shining a mirror back at the audience of what's going on inside in the world. And it's less curated. It's less, puppets on a string.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the exciting things, like there's some brilliant Irish distributors, is it limited, the likes of Wildcard, the likes of Breakout. You look at the successes of Irish film over the last few years with Colleen Kuhn and Kneecap and now Saipan coming in. The hunger for Irish film and Irish content and for people to see it in the cinema is definitely there.
Yeah.
But it's I suppose it's finding the right balance of something that's commercially viable. So and I think like some of those examples are showing that it can be done. The reason maybe that the audience is to go out to the cinema, you need to be reminded why it's great to see something in a cinema, why it's great to go as a collective and sit in a room and turn phones off and absorb something together. And I think once people do that and they're in the room and they feel the vibrations of each other, it's something quite spiritual and life affirming when you do that, I suppose from my theatre background, I'm really passionate about that, but more and more with Horseshoe, like it's a film about people coming together, and we're conscious we need to get people into the cinema to see it, And there's a few cinemas, the indies around the country, the likes of Eclipse and Bundoran, that I think they're doing a great job of getting people excited about going to the cinema, about that experience of going to the cinema, how they're greeted when they come in, that it's not just going into like a soulless multiplex where you have a card machine where you're picking up your ticket, that that it's in the community and there's people who love film who are working there. And those cinemas and those exhibitors around the country, I think they're the ones that we need to back them more. I think there needs to be more support for those kind of cinematic experiences.
You're right. I think the cinemas need to up that whole experience and the event of someone going to a cinema and be less soulless, as you say.
Yeah, but that can't be just left for, I suppose, commercial decisions by, multinational companies that own some of the chains to do it. I think like there needs to be more support with these independent cinemas, particularly how they curate and how they build events, community events around films.
Yeah.
So when we open in Bundoran in Eclipse, we're going to have the day before the general release, the owners of the cinema, they're local people there. We're having a gala Northwest event. People are being invited. We're celebrating it with the community. There's a drinks reception there. They're really getting behind the film in that way. And we're very lucky we'd have that. But I think in an Irish film in general, for any Irish film to cut through, we need to give more of those community events, forum style discussions afterwards. I think that builds something around the cinematic experience, I think,
Yeah, brilliant. The reviews, I want to mention a few of the reviews. The reviews for Horseshoe are brilliant. So this is from The Hollywood Reporter. Darkly funny and deeply melancholic, the film turns the family estate into a pressure cooker of grief, grudges, and reluctant affection. I don't usually read out reviews, but the reviews for Horseshoe are so good. Screen Daily, a tonally well-balanced and well-acted crowd pleaser. Again, the acting is so good in Horseshoe, as well as the visuals of it. Film Ireland, balancing oddball charm with psychological insight. Horseshoe stands as a tribute to rural Ireland. Like, even that alone is a statement. Horseshoe stands as a tribute to rural Ireland, and a promising introduction to these two emerging voices in Irish cinema, that being yourself and Adam. And even when Emer and Craig was on with us recently on Garry Talks Film, we were having this discussion both on and off mic about the importance of documenting rural Ireland. It's lost so much. And again, unfortunately, when so much production is happening in Dublin and Wicklow, that whole spotlight on rural Ireland, which is most of the country, is just not being represented in Irish cinema.
Yeah, I suppose, look, we made the film all within 5 minutes of my house, and I live in Cliffany, which is, it's a village, but it's in a rural spot. It's just absorbing the stories and the energy around you. But I think it's definitely important for us to tell Irish stories and rural stories, but I think more so our own stories, no matter where you're from in Ireland. If you're from the inner city in Dublin, if you're from, wherever in Galway City, Cork City, I think that's the stuff that actually resonates. And interestingly, in the marketplace, when you talk to some of the streamers and distributors, are moving more towards stuff that's very specific. So in a strange way, the more specific something is in its setting or in its storytelling, the more universal it is, because people like to be transported to this other place. So I think that's where, like, as Irish filmmakers, no matter where you're from, if it's rural Ireland or if you're in a city, like, is to trust your stories around you and to trust that, like, by being truthful, that's what will actually resonate. That you don't have to make a kind of a type of Hollywood film or a wannabe French film or whatever. That, you like try to stay true to the stories and what is around you. So I think it's really humbling to hear. When we got those reviews, but I think that people connected with the characters and the sense of place, which is great, because that's what we really tried to. It was the place was the inspiration for the story, and it's a character in its own around it, the characters.
Absolutely. Final question then. What advice, you were giving us a great motivational talk next door in Studio One earlier on before we started recording with our own ambitions here at GK Media Studios, but what advice would you give someone who wants to get into the world of indie filmmaking, whether as a writer, a director, or producer? You've done it now. You've gone through the trenches. What advice would you give?
Yeah, try and find collaborators that want to do the same. Whatever about the cast and crew, we're also lucky. Like in the Sligo area in Northwest, you have like Johnny Gogan, who's head of Creative Heartlands. Like, he was incredible support, just to be able to pick up the phone. Someone as experienced as him, to be able to bounce ideas off and help you navigate through the shoot or the post-production as well. And just someone else, like, that he was always there supporting us at the other end of the phone. Rap as well were brilliant, and the lads Ardon and Rap, at different stages, be able to help us support get to markets. And Sligo County Council, to be fair, were brilliant. It was probably, I think that from my first chat with them, they didn't fully understand, or I wasn't able to articulate, the ambition of what we were about to do. But once it's starting to come together, they supported us from day one. And I'm glad to say, I think they're really proud now of how Sligo's shown on screen as well. So hopefully, look, that they'll get value out of it locally, regards tourism, regards, other companies and businesses that are attracted to the area as well when they see Sligo on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks fantastic. And I always hate asking this when someone is just like spent 2 years working and putting their heart and soul into a project, but you're working on other projects now at the moment as well.
Yeah, no, we have a few projects that are in development with Screen Ireland. We have a TV show called Long Hot Summer that we're in co-development with Project 10 in Toronto. So Andrew Barnsley, who's a producer of Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
So we're trying to push that along at the moment, and that would be shot in the Northwest. And then we've another feature film called Pilgrim Soul that we're hoping to make hopefully in
Super.
2026.
And did the Toronto gig come up with, was that anything to do with the Fleadh when they had the Canadians over?
No, actually before that. So I would have travelled with a delegation from Screen Producers Ireland to Primetime last year. So we had a project there that was ready to go, and we pitched to Lionsgate and to look at different co-production partners. Yeah, it was great. There's definitely a hunger for co-production with the Canadians, and hopefully we can get it into production. But I mean, look, even to be able to develop it with them and working with their team, I've been over a couple of times now for meetings. We'll be meeting them again now in Content London next week. So just even being exposed to how they do things, how they develop TV shows has been a great learning experience, you know.
Fantastic. Well, continued success to yourself, Adam, Hillary, and all the team at Wave Walker Films with Horseshoe and all the other upcoming projects that you're working on. And thank you so much again, Edwin, for joining me in studio today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me in.
And thank you for listening. Don't forget, Horseshoe goes on nationwide release across Ireland this coming Friday, the 5th of December. Check out your local cinema. If they're not screening it, ring them up and give off to them and get them to screen it. It's so important that we continue to support Irish film. And again, fantastic achievement as well with Horseshoe getting North American distribution. And again, keep an eye on it because it's going to go global. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Garry Talks Film. Garry Talks Film, kindly supported by Grace on Demand, Skillnet, and the Rap Commission.